Hi, and welcome to Engineering 101. My name is Nicole Pflum. I'm the co-teacher of this course with Dan Justice. So you guys have all seen Dan up here every week, so we thought it'd be a good idea for me to come in and say hi and introduce myself and just talk a little bit about some of my experiences as a college student, my work in the industry, and some things like that. And then maybe I'll plug a few of my classes, so you guys will come take them with me. So first of all, let me get the right button here. Basically, just like I said, we have an agenda. So the description of my personal college education, the transfer process that I went through. So hopefully that'll help you all maybe learn from some of my mistakes or just hear about how the transfer process goes at a certain college. My degree is in engineering management, and so is my master's, so I'm going to talk about what that is. We haven't had anyone come in and talk about engineering management or industrial engineering, so I'm going to look at that, and then a description of the time that I was in the industry, what I did, some fun stories, hopefully, if I can remember them at that point, and some things like that. And then if we have a little bit of time, I might start talking about my design course, 113, that hopefully you guys would all take. Basically, my college education, I am a product of MCC. So I went to Longview. I took a class here at Penn Valley. I did not go to Maple Woods, but I have been there now and teach there now, and it's a gorgeous campus. So I really don't think you can go wrong with MCC. I did engineering. I don't know where you guys are at mathematically, but I started in college algebra. So I wasn't one of those people who came straight from high school and went into Calc 1 or Calc 2. I kind of went a longer route, so it can be done. It just takes a lot of work. I finished in 2 years from here plus a summer, so I was taking courses in the summertime too to make sure that I got out of here in the 2 years I wanted to and then transfer. Then I went to the University of Missouri-Rolla and got my bachelor's degree in engineering management. That took me 2.5 years. Some of the courses, once again, because I was not necessarily behind, but had been taking. I did not take circuits, mechanics, material, or thermo here at MCC. So when I got to Rolla, I still had 3 classes that I could have taken here. So that put me a half a semester that I had to still take. Hopefully you guys know this by now, but I'm not sure if I've heard anyone say it over this class. You can take all of your calculus, all of your engineering physics, and most of the first 2 years, if not all of it, for your degree with MCC. So you should be able to transfer, depending on what you really want to go into, just seamlessly. So don't ever think that just because we're a community college, we don't have what you need. When it comes to engineering, in my mind, because I work here and because I went here, I think we're the tops. But after I got my bachelor's degree, I liked Rolla so much that I stayed. And at that point in time, I also thought I might want to be in education. So I knew that a master's was the first start to that. So I stayed and got my master's in engineering management with an emphasis in project management. And that took me 1.5 years, and that was going above full time to get that done. I just want you guys to know, out in the audience, if you have questions, I know at Maple Woods, Dan can text me any questions, and you guys can ask me questions whenever you want. Just raise your hand and I'll try to get with you. This is probably my favorite set of slides, tips from me to you about what we did and what I thought made us successful and things that I hope that you're already doing. So if it's something you're already doing, just take it in stride. If it's not, don't just think well, that's stupid. Actually think about it. Think maybe it might work. So the first, and what I really think is the foremost for you, because most of you who are going into a regular engineering program are going to transfer to a 4-year college, you need to know what your schedule is. Here at MCC, we don't offer everything every semester. So for example, you need to take Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3. Those are offered every semester. However, when you get up to into our engineering courses, statics is offered in the spring and the fall, and then dynamics is only offered in the spring and summer. So you need to be able to have a plan for what you're doing, because if you get caught, in saying, I may not want to take this class because, that's kind of a bit more load than I want, that's an okay decision, but you need to understand that that may keep you from getting all the classes in a timely manner. It has to be a decision that you make, not one that's forced on you. Does that make sense? You never want to go to your advisor and be like, but I really need to take dynamics, and they say, it's not offered this semester, I'm sorry. Also, a big thing that I like to tell my students is understand your goals and priorities. I know that I have a lot of working parents or parents who are here, or people who work 40 hours a week and still wanting to study engineering and things like that. I'm not saying that that's impossible at all, but I am saying that you need to make sure that you allot enough time to study. It will be very difficult because if you think about your schedule, if you go to school for X amount of hours, you work for X amount of hours, you have to sleep, or else your brain doesn't turn short-term memory into long-term memory. Okay, so sleeping is important, fun is important, and you also have to study, and if you put on top of that, you raise a family, take care of a family, cook dinner for everyone, race cars, ride horse, I don't know what you do. But I want you to understand that your schedule needs to be conducive for your learning. And if that means that you need to take more than 2 years to get through this program, that's perfectly all right. It just means that you need to make sure that you understand what your priorities are when you're taking these classes. They can be very demanding. They don't call it rocket science for fun, right? So you just need to understand that this is your priority, I hope, or at least one of your high priorities, and scheduling your time around that is going to help you succeed and make your GPA the best that it can be. Also, this was my favorite thing when I was in college, was my study group, because it helped me schedule my time. Because you start in Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, and you progress with those people depending on what kind of path you are on. But people who are here for the steady 2 years, etc., really do stay with the same people in all their classes. It's really easy to find a study group early on and stay with them. That way you're not reforming and relearning how to work with each other and things like that. Also, I thought the study group was a really great idea because we had a lot of work to do, we had a lot of homework, and it hasn't changed. My classes have a lot of homework and they have a lot of work to do. So it gives you time to be with people, and it gives you kind of an outlet, a fun time basically, but it also helps you keep pressing towards your goal of getting through the class. So study groups can be great. Also, there is a lot of educational thought on you learn more when you teach. So that's very important. Even if everybody knows the same thing, have one person go to the whiteboard. I don't know if you guys study in libraries, you study at homes, but the libraries around campus have whiteboards in some of the rooms, and you have one person go do the problem and teach everyone before the test, and then the next person get up and do the problem and teach everyone. It's a great exercise. It helps you understand what you know, and it helps other people get it from a different voice. You guys know that here at MCC, it's me and Dan. That's all you get. So if you get bored with us, you need to go make your own fun somewhere else and start teaching each other, because you are ultimately responsible for your education and doing what it takes. We are facilitators, but that doesn't mean that you can't go out and do everything in your power to learn it better. And that comes from practice and different things like that. So a study group, I think, is key. Excuse me. The other thing, another thing I wanted to say was get involved in engineering club. I know that there are engineering clubs at Longview and Maple Woods. I'm not sure about Penn Valley. If you guys know something that I don't, please speak up. But the engineering club is a great place to meet people for study groups, especially if you are one of those students who's not going on the 2-year track. You can stay involved and meet people who are in your classes. It's also a great way to meet older students in the program, people who've already taken the class, who understand it, who've graduated from that course, and can maybe help you out. Depending on how nerdy you are, it can be a lot of fun. They usually do a project, and so that gives you an outlet that's still engineering focused, so you're staying on the course of pursuing your goal, but you're still having fun, and things like that. Also, engineering club looks great on your resume, so don't ever forget that while you're in school, you are building your resume for when you get out. It's really, really important to think of yourself as acquiring commodities to sell to the person giving you the job. Well, I did this, 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 and this, and this, and I held this position, and I had this leadership. So that's what the recruiters are looking for. Also, if there isn't leadership, maybe it's your turn. This is in anything. So if you don't see maybe your engineering club going anywhere, or you don't see anyone standing up and saying, we need a study group, maybe it's your turn to do that. Maybe you need to stand up at the end of class, once the teacher's dismissed you, and say, hey, we're going to be studying over in, I don't know, ST computer lab or wherever. And if people don't show up, that's on them. It cannot hurt. And leadership is something we could talk about all day long, but you need to develop it now. Engineers are leaders, whether you want to believe that or not. And it's really, really important for you to try to start understanding and leading in things that help you and help other people. Also, visit a 4-year campus and make scheduled appointments. We would go to campuses on trips with our study group, and we wouldn't make appointments. And so we didn't see everything that we could have. We would just go and, hang out, walk around the campus, say, oh, this is a nice campus, and that was done. I really regret that, because the first time I had really seen what Rolla had to offer was the day I was signing my loans. That was the first time I ever saw the nuclear reactor, the wind tunnel, the solar house, and all these amazing things that they had to offer and tours that you could go on. And because I hadn't made a scheduled appointment to walk around, I missed out on all of that. I'm still glad that I chose the university that I did, but I have no idea what Mizzou could have offered. I just went and walked. I have no idea what UMKC could have offered, or K-State, or any of the other schools around here. So I think it's really important that you would make scheduled appointments with an advisor, and just have one of the students walk you around and show you stuff. Also, a big thing that I think is key for most students that, and remember, this is just a hodgepodge of things that I thought of that I wish I could tell everyone. In your classes, understand the concepts, not just the problems. Most students at this point in the game understand how to play school really well. We understand that if you get the steps to a certain type of problem, and that type of problem is on the test, you can rattle it out really quickly and pray that you got the right numbers in the right spot, right? That is not the goal of your college education. Your goal is to understand the concept, understand the theory behind it, because all of these classes build on each other. okay? The more you learn in the lower classes, the better off you will be later. I know that in my statics class, we're going to start a section on integration, which is, Calc 1, Calc 2, which is way back here in the line. And people are going to have to remember and catch back up and things like that. So if you learned the concepts really well in the first place, you're not going to have such a hard time bridging those concepts into the new material. And like I said, classes in engineering are fluid. They all build on each other. They all flow. You have to take this before this and this before this and just keep going and going. And if you think there's a section you don't like and you just try to get through it and not learn it, it will come back to haunt you. I remember in physics, I can't remember whether it was engineering physics 1 or 2, I just couldn't stand circuits, no offense, but at that point in time in my life, I didn't understand it, I couldn't get it, and I just remember going, I just need to get a C on this test and be done. And then I went to Rolla and took circuits in a class of 120 and went, oh my gosh, I wish I would have learned it at Longview. Because now I can't even ask my teacher very well because, there's 120 people in here, and they don't really know who I am. So, like I said, just learn the concepts and then you'll do better at everything. Okay, so my transfer process, what happened when I was ready to leave MCC and go to UMR, and I understand this is heavily on my experience. If you have questions or want to know about transferring to a different college, Dan or I can help you out with that. But for today, I'm just going to focus on what I know really well. So the transfer process for me, I had no problems with my course transfer. My courses went seamlessly to Rolla because of our program with them. It was fantastic. Also, I knew what I needed to take because I had already picked what department I was going to go in. Some courses here at MCC, we teach, for example, at Rolla, some disciplines can have a hybrid course that's statics and dynamics together. And here at MCC, we teach statics and dynamics as separate courses. If you take statics and dynamics with us, it's not going to hurt you. It transfers into that course no matter what. Or if you're in a discipline where you have to take statics and dynamics separately, it transfers seamlessly to a college. There's other little caveats for things in different disciplines, so it's really good for you to know what you want to do after here to make sure that you take the correct classes for you. So, like I said, we went on a trip to Rolla and just ran around the campus and saw all the weird stuff and the Stonehenge, and back then it actually worked. Now it doesn't because they built a college that blocks the sun half the year. So it doesn't tell time anymore, which I think is really interesting that they wouldn't have thought of that. But that was a really great thing. However, like I said, I wish I would have made an appointment so I could have seen the nuclear reactor earlier because I would have definitely been on board quicker. The application process, the most difficult part about that, I did mine online. I mean, it was just super easy. I think you can even pay with a credit card now. But because I was transferring in as a junior, I needed to start thinking about what department I wanted to go into. So this class that I took as a freshman, Engineering 101, had really helped me understand what I wanted to go into. So I had already decided that I wanted to be in engineering management at Rolla, so I put that on my application. So then when I went to transfer day in Rolla, you meet with your advisor. So I got accepted into the engineering management department as a junior. I'm not sure if it's still like this, but I think it is. You do general engineering and then you get accepted into the department. So if you want to be civil, mechanical, things like that. So went there, met with my advisor, who was my advisor for 2 years until grad school, which was great. So I met him right off the bat. We went through the schedule of what I needed to take to graduate all in that one day and planned out my 4.5 semesters. If your advisor doesn't do things like that, it's not always that common to have an advisor who has enough time to work with you that much. It's still really up to you to know what your schedule needs to be. Also, at the time when I went to Rolla, we had transfer scholarships. I'm not sure if they're still available or if they do this at all colleges, but it's worth asking financial aid or your transfer liaison. Do you guys have transfer scholarships? It wasn't much, but it was enough to pay for my books for a year. So that's better than nothing. Also, student aid, student financial aid was much like here at MCC. You fill out the FAFSA, they say what they can do for you, you groan a little bit and you say okay, that kind of deal. But my favorite part about the transfer process was the housing. If you transfer onto a 4-year campus and you're a junior, most likely you will not have to live on campus, so no dorms for you. It's really exciting. Have you guys ever seen a dorm? Don't want to live in it. Okay, I'm sorry. Dorm life is great for some people. Let me just put that caveat on there. Some people love dorm life. They do it forever. However, I am not a dorm person. I liked my own room and my own bathroom and my own kitchen. So it worked out very well for me. The other side of the transfer process, so when you finally get to your 4-year university, what might you encounter? Once again, when you're a junior in engineering, everyone takes the general engineering classes that we've been talking about, the ones that we teach here at MCC, and then you break off into your disciplines. So, for example, if your best buddy in your study group is a civil engineer and you're a mechanical engineer, you guys aren't going to see each other all that much anymore. Does that make sense? Because you guys are going to go off into completely separate areas. Doesn't mean you don't get to hang out. It doesn't mean you can't ask questions. It just means that when you're transferring into that 4-year university, you and everyone else are making new study groups. So it's a really good time to transfer right at that between the sophomore and junior level. So you're not like the new person. Everybody's kind of the new person in their department. The great thing is if you were in engineering club here at MCC or you made friends, you can now hang out with them if they transferred before you. Also, if they're in the same discipline as you, once again, it's always great to have someone who's in front of you to help you understand or navigate where you're going. You have a new schedule to balance depending on where you're going. For those students who stay here and go to UMKC, it may be not look that different, and that's great. But for those students who actually do go to a 4-year university and get immersed into the going away process, et cetera, you may have to understand how to balance student life with and activities that are bombarding you every single day and your engineering coursework. Also, it was the first time I had different teachers for engineering courses because here at MCC we have me and Dan. That's it. So when you go away from here, you get new teachers. So that could be a really good thing if you don't necessarily enjoy me talking all the time. So it's good, or it could be bad if you really, really liked your teachers, because Dan's the best, right? I thought he was great. Still is. Don't want to put my foot in my mouth too much there. And then also, it's really important, like I said, to think of your career in school as a new way for you to put stuff on your resume. I mean, you just have to grab stuff from everywhere you can. So plugging into that 4-year campus, just like you're hopefully plugging in here, is going to help. They're going to want to know that you held some position, you had some leadership, you did Solar House or an honor society or things like that. At my time in Rolla, I was a vice president of the Engineering Management Honor Society. I led a band at a thing called BSU. All sorts of stuff that really helped me out when I was in interviews. They always ask these situational questions. if you were in this situation, or when you were in this situation, how did you act? And what did you do? And so if you have more experience leading a group, you're going to do much better in interviews than people who have a 4.0 and have never done anything with anyone else. Remember, engineering is collaborative, whether we like that or not. People don't do things just by themselves. They don't. Good products don't get made with just one person doing it all. Good products get made with people checking and collaborating and brainstorming and feeding off each other. That's when great ideas come. So this is the part where I'm going to kind of shift and go to what is engineering management. You've heard me say, I went to engineering management, yeehaw, blah, 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 but you may be asking yourself, what on earth is it? Really, it is the discipline of bridging the gap. It's training students to have extremely strong technical skills and also very strong business skills. You'll hear me say, if you take any of my classes, I think everything should be project managed, that your time should be like your scope and your schedule, that you should live your life like that. That's because I got brainwashed in engineering management. I think project management is probably one of the keys to living an efficient life. So let's say, for example, there is a corporation that, let's take a manufacturing plant. You have engineers building the process, and you have the accounting and the finance people over here trying to keep the money going. The engineering management person would be the go-between, the gap bridger, basically. They would be able to talk and facilitate with the actual technical things and then turn that into a language because of their understanding of accounting and finance that the rest of the business side would understand. Some things that you learn in engineering management, everybody in engineering learns concept problem-solving skills or complex problem-solving skills. I think that's what engineering school is about, making you a better problem solver. Also, you can learn to utilize basic finance, accounting, economics, and risk analysis methods. Big time on leadership. If you're in a discipline that expects to be a manager someday, you need to understand leadership. You take classes in leadership, understanding some of the psychology of leadership and how to lead a technical organization, because there's a difference between leading certain organizations that don't have so much technology in them and organizations that do. You also learn team working. Effective communication is key. And then some of the more specialized classes that you can go into are ethics, how to operate in a global society, understanding culture. We really do live in a global market. So understanding how to go into a big corporation and understanding how to work with different cultures, et cetera, is a very, very wonderful thing to have on your resume. Some engineering management students learn legal process. I myself learned more about standards, so OSHA standards, safety standards for different places, and how to get your site ready for that or keep it. Political issues, and then marketing. The class in marketing we took, I was actually able to be a project lead for a new business coming into Rolla. So that was really exciting. Our entire class did the marketing for that business. And then, of course, we didn't get paid for it, but we did get a grade for how well we did. And then the day before they opened early and let us all eat there for free. It was kind of neat. It was a great real world problem before you get out into the real world. At Rolla, let me say this first. You can attain an engineering management degree at Rolla. you can attain an industrial engineering degree at Mizzou. Okay, so I'm going to go through what engineering management is, and then I'm going to briefly go through what industrial engineering is. They are different. So at Rolla, you can take a general engineering management degree, which it says general, but it's basically the exact opposite. It's general enough that you can basically individualize that program. I had a woman that I went to grad school with who was general engineering management, but her emphasis was in biomedical engineering management, which meant that she worked on human factors, which means the idea of designing to make sure that, for example, if you have colorblind people, designing to make sure that those people can also attain and do the work specifically. Ergonomics is where I spent a good part of my time in grad school. We've all had to sit in ergonomically designed chairs and ergonomic pencils and ergonomic hairbrushes, and everything says ergonomic on it right now. Basically, the real idea of ergonomics is to make something so it puts less stress on the body over time. So, for example, in grad school, what I did was I worked with Boeing and a few other graduate teaching assistants, and we actually helped with the rivet section of the 747s, or I believe that's what plane we were working on. And so for the operators who actually had to get into the nose and rivet all of those guys around, they would be bent over for half the day using a gun, 2.5 feet away from their body, or a tool. And we were proving that that was very detrimental to their shoulder. Common sense would tell you, if you do this all day, it's going to hurt you, right? However, they need proof and they need understanding of what else you could do. So that was our problem. We still need to be able to get in and put those rivets on, but how are we going to do that without damaging our employees? And that was a really great part of grad school for me. Also, if you are a civil engineering-minded person, you can do a construction management degree there, or an emphasis, materials management, things like that, instead of just a regular civil engineering degree. The second largest area of engineering management would be the management of technology. So it focuses on maybe more of the business side, so the administration, decision making, human relations, management principles, accounting, finance, and marketing. This would be really understanding how to market for a technology, and understanding your field, and being able to work within a technological field on the business side to make sure that the technical side and the business side come together fluidly. And then my area of emphasis was industrial engineering. Most people think about this as just manufacturing. So if you think about the great Ford plants, etc., or the manufacturing, like the Coca-Cola bottling plant or Procter & Gamble, Harley-Davidson here in Kansas City, Honeywell, places where we manufacture things. That was what my focus was on, and that part of that degree actually looks at acquiring, analyzing, and interpreting data to improve productivity, quality, and safety. And what that basically means is understanding efficiency, how to make stuff more efficient, and how to improve your financial return, which is what we all want. And you do that by being more efficient. And then quality assurance, making sure that things are coming off the line or out of your design process just as well as the first product that came off. And then the safety of that. if you're using huge milling machines or a big bandsaw or whatever you're doing, there are actual like safety regulations and things like that that the industrial engineers have to be on top of to make sure that you can't hurt yourself. There's all sorts of ways that, like to turn off a machine, you have to take this out and then it won't let you do anything until you take the key out. There's double checks in the industry and things like that that you learn. It's really exciting. But industrial engineering just isn't manufacturing. It transfers into all sorts of things. You could use it for train scheduling, understanding how trains need to come in and out efficiently. You can use it in pipeline project management, which is what I did when I got out of college, in big corporations that aren't manufacturing, but they're still making a product or have people working together to get something done. What I did was thought about each person as a different machine on the line and basically used the exact same principles to get what I needed at the end, and managed that. It's different managing people than machines, but they both have bad days, so it works. And also, engineering management, like I already said, is just soaked with efficiency. If you're one of those people who loves everything to be the most efficient, likes to take the shortest way everywhere and make sure that you're, let me just tell you a little something about myself. I have my closet for my clothes lined up according to the rainbow. So, I mean, they are color-coded, and it's just ridiculous. But I do that because I know exactly what I want the minute I wake up. I go to it, I grab it, and I get out and I put it on. So I think if you are an efficiency person, you know it. It's kind of ingrained in your brain, and I had always been like that. Constantly, when I was working with my father as a child, taking the process that he was doing, hammering the nails, etc., and going, how can we make this better? Or making little additions to his tools to make it easier on him. And that's really what engineering management, or should I say industrial engineering, people do. I think that's all I wanted to say on that slide. I had a text in, is there robotics in industrial engineering? That's a great question. There are, however, industrial engineers are not the ones in charge of designing the robotics in most cases. So, for example, if you think about how cars are put together, let's go to the very first slide. Probably regret this. That's the Ford plant in 1921, I think, when the Model T was put out. This is the Ford plant now. This is the new Fiesta coming off the line. You can definitely see that there are robotics in industrial engineering. However, it would most likely be the responsibility of the mechanical engineer to make the robotics. It is the industrial engineer's responsibility to keep the line going at efficiency, to fight fires when there's not a mechanical engineer there. Basically, because of your knowledge of engineering and your knowledge about the robotics, you could go in and fix them if they're breaking. I've got great stories about how when I was in an internship at a manufacturing plant, one of our our injection molding machines went down, and we were charged, I think it was $25,000 an hour that we weren't making that product, 25 to 50. It was to Harley Davidson. And so myself, and I was only a junior in engineering, and the two other engineers ran down there to start figuring out what was wrong, and in about 35 minutes we had it up and running. And there wasn't a mechanical engineer in the plant site. It was up to us who had the technological experience to do it. But like I said, as the industrial engineer, you would most likely not be responsible for designing the robotics. You would be responsible for their upkeep, their efficiency, their collaboration, and things like that. I hope that answers that person's question. Okay, so It's funny that we just got done looking at Henry Ford's stuff. One of my favorite quotes, one of my favorite people in history, not necessarily because of him as a person, but the things that he's done, is Henry Ford. And he's quoted as saying, "A customer can have any car painted any color that they want as long as it's black." Can you guys figure out why he might have said you can only have black cars if he's all about efficiency? The primer's gray, yep. So the reason is because black dries fastest. He wanted them off the line as fast as possible, make them as fast as possible, and to get as many cars out in the less amount of time so he could make more money and have people buy them quicker. So I just think that that's great. Another part I wanted to talk to you guys about was project management. So I told you I got a certificate in project management in grad school. Basically, I took a handful of classes that all focused on project management, and they all revolved around these three things: scope, schedule, and cost. It's all about being able to manage your resources and your time and your budget constraints. So scope is really what's involved, what do we need to be doing here, what do we want to do. The schedule would be when is it due, how much time do we have, how are we going to do it, and then the cost would be those budget constraints. When your boss says, well, you've got to do this and you've got a week to do it, but you only have $2 to do it with. That's really difficult. So understanding how to manage that is really, really important. And project management really is a skill that you learn over time. There's lots of different ways that you can be taught to do it, but it takes practice. Okay, so my industry experience, I was in manufacturing for 2 summers, like I told you, plastics, injection molding. Probably one of the most fun jobs I've ever had, next to this one. I was a sophomore in the summer before my junior year in college. I worked in quality assurance, so for example, plastic parts would come out of the molding machines, and we would make sure that all the holes, where the screws go in them to connect them to another part, were exactly correct. You'd measure them with calipers, understand what's going on, make sure that the plastic, if it was, for example, we made taillights or lenses for taillights, you'd hold it up and make sure that it was the correct thickness of plastic, that light could get through it correctly, etc. And if it wasn't, you had to turn around, stop the line, and figure out what was wrong, which was fun, I thought. And then my next summer, and I actually worked there over a winter break, I just did process improvement documentation. It doesn't sound like a bunch of fun, but I no longer had to wear like a suit every day. I got to wear jeans and a t-shirt and climb up mountains of dusty boxes full of plastic parts and take them out and figure exactly out the process that it took to get that from the little pellets of plastic to what it was. And I made a document that would go out to the line, to the operator on the line every time, telling them exactly what needed to happen. And the hope was that if every operator used the same document, even when shifts changed, that it would be more efficient. So loved that job, was totally sold in manufacturing, was sure that I'd be working for, who knows, Procter & Gamble for the rest of my life, making baby diapers, I don't know. Loved it. Then I was offered a position in network engineering at a cell phone company. I'm not really telling any of the names, sorry, I'm being vague. But I did that for 2 summers. It was a huge corporate climate, and I basically did it to make sure I didn't want to do that. I knew that I really enjoyed manufacturing, and so I said, well, I'll try the other side for the next 2 summers to make sure that, maybe this isn't what I want to do. And there I ended up doing process improvement, which was just as much fun as it was on plastic parts, but there I did process improvement with actual people, and how they went through their daily schedule, how different meetings ran, how design functions went down the pipeline basically, and found different holes there where we could make them more efficient with technology or things like that. So I had so much fun there that I decided to take their offer when I graduated and become a network engineer. And I did big pipeline project management. Basically, my role as a project manager was to see the person who had their head so far into the cell phone that they couldn't understand that the budget was over here. And then I had the accountant over here going, oh my gosh, we're so far over our budget, we can't even get this, I guess you would call them apps now, but that was before we had apps. So like NFL Mobile Live, things like that, to get that to roll all the way out from actual just idea into your actual handheld device. So there were a daily schedule would be meeting after meeting after meeting to discuss, and then actually getting to go see the technology and making sure that we were making forward progressing movement on that too. So that was half of my job there, and then also I was in charge of a director review, which took all of the new projects coming through the pipeline, and they had to go through a meeting with me and the director of network engineering every week. After I was done there, I went to consulting for a healthcare IT company, which was fantastic. There, I did customer engineering relations, basically database construction, understanding that if the hospital wanted a certain, let me figure out how to explain this correctly so I don't confuse anyone. When you go to the hospital, you see the doctor on the computer and they type in all of that stuff. There's an interface there, and that's the company that I worked for. So before any of that can happen, for example, I worked in the pharmacy part of that. All of the pharmaceuticals have to be in that interface for them to pull it up, right? So it was like designing that program to fit every single hospital specifically. The biggest project I worked on was the Sheikh's Hospital in Abu Dhabi. We also had projects in all over the world, and then there were projects in Kansas or here in Kansas City. So it was really kind of an interesting time where you'd be needing to be having meetings at a certain time because people in Abu Dhabi went to sleep when you were getting up, and it was very difficult. But it was really, really fun, and I loved it. Then, and I say that I've loved all my jobs, I really have. But like I said earlier, I always knew that I really wanted to be in education. This is where my heart's at. I like to mold the young nerdlings of tomorrow, right? Maybe I shouldn't say that. I hope nobody found offense to that. But you have to be kind of quirky to want to go into engineering. It's just how it is. And I really am just so excited to be here at MCC. So that kind of transitions into anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. The greatest thing in life is to keep your mind young. Good old Henry Ford. It's 9:50. I have one question from distance, and it says, what is the hardest class for you? I'm going to answer it really quickly. The hardest course for me was probably circuits, and don't take that wrong. I think circuits is great now that I understand it. However, it was really difficult transitioning into classes where I had always had 20 people and teachers who always helped me, and then going straight in my next semester to a class where there was 120. So take advantage of MCC's classes. Take all that you can here. because once you start breaking off into your disciplines, the classes get smaller, but it's in those classes that we teach that they have huge lecture halls at the four-year institutions. So with that, I went a minute over. Thanks, guys. Have a good day. Hope to see you in my classes. Bye.